In November of 2022, the small college town of Moscow, Idaho, was shaken by a crime so brutal it would capture the attention of the entire nation. 4 University of Idaho students were found stabbed to death inside an off-campus home. The victims were young, popular, and full of promise. And the killer seemed to vanish without a trace. For weeks, fear gripped the community as investigators raced to uncover the truth. This is the story of the Idaho College Murders, one of the most chilling criminal investigations in recent American history. The victims were 4 close friends who lived together in a rented house near the University of Idaho campus. They were Kaylee Goncalves Madison, Mogan Zana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. All were in their early 20s. Friends described them as energetic, kind, and deeply connected to their college community. On the night of November 12th, the group spent time out with friends before returning to their home on King Road. It was supposed to be just another ordinary weekend night. But sometime in the early hours of November 13th, everything changed. When police arrived at the home, they discovered a horrifying scene. All 4 students had been fatally stabbed. Investigators believed the attacks happened while the victims were asleep. The brutality of the crime shocked even experienced detectives. But perhaps the most unsettling detail was this: 2 roommates were inside the house at the time. They survived. And according to investigators, they had no idea the murders had taken place until hours later. The mystery surrounding how the killer entered and left the home became one of the biggest questions in the case. The investigation quickly became one of the largest in Idaho's history. More than 100 law enforcement officers joined the case. The Federal Bureau of Investigation was brought in to assist local police. Detectives processed the crime scene for evidence, conducted hundreds of interviews, and reviewed thousands of tips from the public. But weeks passed without an arrest. Rumors spread online. Fear grew across the community. Many residents wondered if a dangerous killer was still walking free. Then investigators revealed a critical clue. A white Hyundai Elantra had been seen near the crime scene around the time of the murders. Police asked the public for help identifying the vehicle. That tip would soon lead them to a suspect. In December 2022, nearly 6 weeks after the murders, authorities arrested Bryan Kohberger. Kohberger was a 28-year-old criminology PhD student studying criminal justice at Washington State University, located just a few miles from the crime scene. Investigators said several pieces of evidence connected him to the murders. Among them, DNA recovered from a knife sheath found at the scene, cell phone records placing him near the victim's home multiple times, and surveillance footage showing a vehicle matching his car driving through the area that night. Kohberger was arrested at his family home in Pennsylvania after a cross-country investigation. The case had finally reached a turning point, but many questions remained. As investigators pieced together the timeline, disturbing details emerged. Authorities believe the killer entered the home during the early morning hours while most of the occupants were asleep. The attack was swift and brutal. One surviving roommate reportedly saw a masked man walking through the house before he left. Yet investigators say the suspect made no attempt to harm her. Why he spared the surviving roommates remains unknown. Another mystery is the motive. Police have never publicly confirmed why the victims were targeted. Some investigators believe the attack may have been carefully planned. Others suggest it may have been an obsession with one of the victims. But the full story may only come out during the trial. Today, Bryan Kohberger faces multiple counts of first-degree murder. Prosecutors say the evidence against him is overwhelming. His defense team argues that key details of the investigation should be challenged in court. The upcoming trial is expected to reveal new information about the events leading up to the murders. And it may finally answer the question that has haunted this case from the beginning. The Idaho College Murders shocked a nation and forever changed the lives of the victims' families. For the community of Moscow, Idaho, the memory of that night still lingers. And as the justice process unfolds, the search for answers continues. For Crime Chronicles, this has been the story of the Idaho College Murders. A case of tragedy, mystery, and a community forever marked by loss.